Okay, so this second video here, obviously we've just finished looking at some of the main basic fundamental things we can do to an animation by both setting the keys and by using our curve editor to help us create and manipulate the way that our tween frames are made, the keyframes in between the keys, how they are handled, and how we tell Max how to treat them. So what I want to do now, I'm going to go ahead and save this file, and I'm going to reset real quick because we're going to come back to that one in a minute. But what I want to do is I wanted to cover real quick just some more things that we need to pay attention to when it comes to these tangents in our interpolations. So let's say 20, and we'll move this up 20. Okay, so as we saw with the bouncing, the different types of tangents that we use on our keyframes are going to make a big difference in how the animation actually looks. And I'm going to go ahead and explore real quick some more things that we can think about. So I'm just going to go to frame 50, and I'm just going to move the ball over here like so. And now, as we'll see, the ball is starts off slow, picks up speed, and then comes to slowly comes to a stop before it hits the final position. Now, obviously, this is not very interesting, but let's go ahead and take a look at just what these one keys can do for us, where it starts and where it ends, and how we can take advantage of our curve editor and the actual interpolation of these keys. So we're going to our curve editor, and as we can see, the X, Y, and Z, that is only the X one that has been manipulated. And we can see by the curve that it is slowly coming out, and then it picks up speed, and then it slowly comes to a stop. Now, by default, if we have our default in-out tangents set to auto, which it should be if you haven't messed with it, what that gives us is it automatically is going to ease in and ease out the keys for us, but it also automatically sets it up where each key has a handle that can be manipulated. And as you can see, this is going to give us very dramatic differences on how the Max is going to interpolate this. So just for example, I'll just go ahead and make an adjustment like that, and let's see what happens. So we see it's very different animation that we have there. Obviously we can take it something like this, and again, very, very different effect that we have. I'll go ahead and straighten this guy out, and then now I'll just adjust this one, and we can actually do things like this. Let's find something like that, and again, so very, very dramatic differences that we can create just depending on these two keyframes. You know, we haven't done anything else. These two keys are still the same, but the way we are handling these keys is making a tremendous impact. And notice we can also do things like this. So what we actually have here, we actually have the key position here and the key position here, obviously, but now we actually are creating a key position up here and another one down here just from the curves. So we've got some very, very cool effects that we can achieve just by simply taking into account how our tangents are being manipulated. And the best thing that you can do is play around with it, kind of like we're doing here. I'm going to do another example. I'm going to create a box, and this will be like a door, and I want it to swing or pivot from the end, so I'm going to go to our hierarchy tab. I'm going to go effect pivot only, and I'll just move this over here, and let's just move it to where it's right here on the end. So now when we rotate, we see that it rotates like so. And again, we'll do the same kind of thing. We've got our starting key, and let's say we'll go to 50, and we'll do a key where I'm going to hit A to turn on the angle snap toggle, so I can get an exact key right there, 145. So again, nothing tremendous. Now I'm going to come down here, make a marquee selection around this key right here. I'm going to hold shift, and now when I move, I'm actually copying out a copy of that key. So very quickly we have the door opening and then shutting. So very simple animation. Basically we've only created one key, which is our open key, and we duplicated the same key here for the close position. So now, just by using our tangents, let's see what kind of effects we can get. So very quickly we can see that we only have one. Obviously our X rotation, we haven't done anything to positions, and obviously it's our Z rotation that's been manipulated. So we can do plenty of things here with these three simple keys. Let's say we wanted to have the door slam open really fast, and then so we wanted to do something like that. We can just manipulate this guy, and what we can see now, if there's no matter if we want something to happen fast, the time, because remember animation equals timing plus change, and the first thing in there is the timing. If we want this door to slam open, it's this key here, the open, that needs to be adjusted. So if something needs to happen faster, we close the distance between the two keys. Now it'll happen faster, and now we've got from 20 to 100 where the door closes, so this is going to be very slow. So as we can see, that has adjusted our curves, and now we can make further adjustments to it. And if we wanted to see that, let's say we wanted to have a nice sharp angle here and then it curves out, that's when we can do this one, set it to custom, and if we hold down shift while we move it, notice we can actually break these tangents. So I can actually come in here and make that guy be a straight line, and this one we can have do whatever we want. So let's say we come in here and do something like this. So now we see that it's going to very quickly open up. It's going to very quickly jump to this position, and then it's going to hang around this position for a while until it slowly and then quickly speeds up to the slam. Okay, so we can see what's going on with it. Again, if it's not opening fast enough, which I don't think that it is, that is the placement of the key. We make it open faster. So now it's opening, and it's opening pretty fast, and then it hangs there for a while before closing. So we wanted to get a sense that this thing is slamming shut even faster. We could increase that. And I'm going to down here in our timeline, if you hold down Control and Alt at the same time, and then I'm just going to left click for a second, and we see that it says start time. If I'm still holding down Control and Alt and I right click, we see it says end time. And if I hold down Control and Alt and press the middle mouse button, it shows us the range. And what this does is it allows us to alter how many frames we're looking at here in our timeline. So for example, I'm holding down Control and Alt and I'm going to right click. We see that it says end time. What that means is I can, by dragging the mouse now, I can adjust the end time, so I can add keys or I can take keys away. So I'm just going to add let's say another 50 frames so we can get a sense, so we can see this really kind of popping into place, taking his time and really kind of popping, slamming shut here. So again, Control and Alt would be with the left would be we can actually take away or add to times from the beginning. And notice down here in the corner, when you do that, it's actually showing you start time -6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then the middle mouse allows you to scroll the range. So the range will stay, again I'll watch in that bottom left corner when it hits a 0. So we see we've got a range of 0 to 150. So when we scroll like this, we're always looking at 150 frames, no matter where we go with it. We're not adding or taking away any frames. We're just scrubbing the entire timeline so we can change the range that we're looking at, which is very useful. So I'm going to go back to 0. So again, hopefully you can see how we can continue. And if we wanted to, we could just click on this guy and set it to linear. And this one's custom, so we'd have to adjust that one, because if we set this one to linear, then we'll get linear coming out, and notice we don't have any tangents to pick from. But let's see what that looks like. So we can see by just quickly saying, okay, set to linear. Now let's say we just go ahead and set this guy to slow or fast. We can see how that is going to affect our animation. And you know, sometimes these presets or these default settings aren't gonna give you enough of an exaggeration to get the effect across, and that's when we just go back to setting it to auto, and we can play around with it as much as we want. Again, if we can let's say we wanted to we could have it do stuff like this. So we're going to get basically a bounce when it opens up. And it runs way past it and then slams shut. So these are you know, lots of things to think about and play around with when we are doing these animations. Always be aware and be mindful of, you know, as you're doing a particular animation or, you know, something, is there an easier way that I can achieve this through my tangents and adjusting the interpolation of the keyframes. It's really important, and as you can see, it's going to give you a lot of a wide range excuse me, of things that you can do with very simple, you know, because one of the things that will happen for a lot of animators when they're getting started is things like this, where we have 1, 2, 3 keys, but they want it to move up here and then down here. They'll actually set keys in these positions, and while it's not a terrible idea, it's just not going to be as smooth as something like this, because the math is just going to be very clean. Because what's going to happen, let's say, for example, we've got this guy right here. Let's say I want to make a keyframe. When we take a look at the new key that gets made, by default, since our default tangents are set to auto, Max is going to have this new key try to ease into this position and ease out from it as best it can, and that's not as clean. That's why I undo. It's not as clean as what we have here. So it's something to keep in mind. You don't want to add as many keys as you think you know that needs to happen. Make your basic keys like we had here: the closed, the open, and the closed. You can play around with the timing. To change the animation, but we've got these three basic keys, but now it's just a matter of how has Max, or how have we as animators controlled the tangents, the interpolation of these keys. So hopefully that is that helps a little bit. I'm gonna go back to our ball bouncing here, and what we can see, I'm going to go to my camera view. What we can see is we have very solid animation of a ball bouncing. There's not a lot of life in here, but we have we've got some very solid animation. I mean, I don't have any doubt in the world that this ball is bouncing. I'm going to go into our track view, so again we can take a look at what we have. Obviously our Z position we're pretty straight with, not much I want to do here. Obviously there's nothing with the X position, so what you could do is select these keys and delete them. It just cleans things up. It's a straight line, so might as well have it as a straight line. But our Y position here, as we see, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what is that, 7 keys in here that are, like I said, Max is basically trying to ease in and ease out from each one of these keys. You can kind of see that a little bit as we look at the way the keys are. But let's imagine for a second, what it would look like if we try to keep this line, but we got rid of those keys and we just used our handles to try to create the same effect. We're going to get a lot smoother motion, which I can already kind of see that we have. But let's apply the same concepts that we had before. And let's say that this guy is going to hit to this position pretty quickly, but then it's going to slow down when it gets there. So let's do something like that. So again, I mean, not to say that this is a great example, I just wanted to show you what can be done and how things can be altered. So with very minor changes we can get, I'll go ahead and set that guy to linear, and we'll have this just slowly come to a halt. Okay, so pretty clean. Again, we could have it go this way. But as we can see, if we do something like that and we come to our motion panel and turn our trajectories on, we can see how we have him hanging around here, and then he quickly pops over here. We can see that our trajectories are showing us that we've got some issues with that. Well, here's where I can see what's going on, and we can maybe come in here and manipulate and adjust I'm going to set this guy to auto, and we could do something like that, and I can see what's happening immediately, and it's not really working out for us. It's not looking too good. So we can play around with it, and let's see, what could we do here. I'm gonna set this. We'll set this guy to auto so I can play around with this. And real quickly, I'm gonna show you something else that we can do here. I'm going to we'll stay full screen. I can right click and tell this to dock on the bottom, and so now we can actually see, and things are a little scrunched in here. Close my command panel. We can see the curve editor right here in our, basically maximized here. Notice we don't have the option of moving this down to kind of see a little bit, so sometimes you might not find it to be that useful. We can tell it to go back to floating like this, and this is typically the kind of setup that I would do. I would move my view like this and have the curve editor down here so that I can kind of see them both at the same time. So I can see the curve as I'm adjusting it here in this view, and I can also see how it's affecting the animation and the viewport. So I can see that this guy probably going to need to get adjusted there, and can see, so what I'm trying to get is a smooth arch this way, and that looks pretty good. So let's see. So there's lots of things to think about, and this really is the fundamental aspect to animation. Setting your main keys as a lead animator is really important, but then you also need to play the role of tween animator and go in there and adjust our interpolations of these keyframes, and we can get wonderful effects with this. We can really get a sense that this ball is landing with some authority here, which there's many things that we can do with this at this stage. We can start including some squash and stretch. There's plenty of things at this point that we could do, but I just really wanted to let you guys just get a chance to really kind of cover this so you can see the importance of it. And these are things that need to happen when you're animating. I don't think there's ever been a time where I've animated something and I haven't gone in and tweaked a curve for any given thing. It's not like you're going to do it for everything. Could we have never have tweaked the curves here for this guy? Sure. It all depends on what you're going for. But not using this or not having this at your disposal when you're trying to animate something is an incredibly it's a very limiting thing to not have the ability to do something like this, to tweak these curves. The last thing I want to kind of show you here is a nice little trick that they included in Max a while back. If I come down here to our timeline anywhere that's not on a key, and I right click and we go to configure and we check the show selection range, we see that everything moves up a little bit. Now what we can do is this. I'm going to actually select all these keys, and notice we get this bar, this black bar showing us the selection range that we have. And what this does is it allows us to actually move the entire range of keys. But you'll notice if we move it to the corners that we get a single arrow pointing in one direction, where in the middle we get both showing us we can go like that. But if we go to the ends, we can actually scale these in. So what this basically is doing is it's proportionally scaling in, scaling down, scaling up, scaling faster our keys. So everything's going to happen faster. Or we can, I'm going to add some more time here. Let's go to 150. Or we can scale it out to make everything longer. So everything's happening very slow based on what we have already accomplished. So these are some really cool things to consider. And notice I can also, we don't have to just do an entire range. I can come in here, let's say I'm just going to select these last three keys, which is this final bounce, and I can scale just this part faster. Or obviously scale it out. So very, very useful. It really is kind of a wonderful thing to have in your arsenal as an animator, is the ability to do things like this, speed up a certain area, slow something down. Let's say we'll take these guys and we'll speed up that bounce, and then all of these. I mean, it's just all kinds of things that we can do with it to just play around. You know, and we haven't done anything, we haven't added any more keys. These are all still the same keys. It's just how are we arranging these keys? What are we doing with these keys? What is the intervals in between these keys? How are we adjusting and manipulating the interpolation or the tangents between these keys? It's not just as simple as adding keys. As you can see, there's so much more that can be done in any given animation that is going to that, you know, it's beyond just a matter of creating a single keyframe or, you know, two keyframes. There's many things to consider here. How, you know, like I said before, the closer keys are, the faster things are going to happen. The farther keys are, the slower things are going to happen. And there's just, you know, these are all things that need to be thought about, considered, weighed, understood when it comes to doing any kind of animation. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the original ball here, and we'll go back to our camera view. And very simple ball that we have done. Hopefully you've gotten something out of what we talked about in this episode, I guess, with respect to our tangents and how useful they can be. And the next video, we're going to take everything now a step further, and we're going to actually use the Ninja Ball rig that I have. The Bower Ball rig that I've made available on my site. We're actually going to use that and take a look, kind of revisit this whole bouncing ball thing, and take into account some more things that we need to think about. And actually, I think before we even get to that, we're going to spend a little bit more time on a simple ball, because there's still actually a couple more things I want to deal with as it regards to such a simple concept like this. Because we're really not done with the bouncing ball yet. So the next video we'll go ahead and do one more lesson on the ball, and then we should be ready to move on to the Bower Ball rig, where we can really start to get some personality and some character into this simple animation. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.